My due date was 10 days away, but I found a check-in text message on my husband's phone. I asked curiously, "Who are you buying plane tickets for?" David was stunned, turned his face away awkwardly, and said softly, "For my parents and me." I thought I misheard and asked in shock, "Tickets for you and your parents for tomorrow? Where are you going?" David paused, gritted his teeth, and said, "We're planning to go to Los Angeles for a few days." I couldn't believe my ears and asked him incredulously, "What are you talking about?" "I'm about to give birth, and you're going on vacation with your parents at this crucial time?" David explained to me, "I've been busy with work before, and this is a rare opportunity. My parents have always wanted to go to Los Angeles, so I'm taking this time to take them." I found it unbelievable and said, "Isn't the reason you have time because you took paternity leave? You're using your paternity leave to travel with your parents?" David pouted unhappily and said, "Paternity leave is my vacation too, and it's my business how I use it. Besides, you still have 10 days until your due date. I need to plan this time reasonably. I can't just stay home with you every day. You're not going to give birth so quickly. I'd be so bored. And we're only going for 5 days. We'll be back before you give birth." No wonder he insisted on taking paternity leave early. I thought he was worried that I would go into labor at any time while alone at home, so he stayed by my side to reassure me. I was quite touched, but I didn't expect he had planned to use this time to travel. I tried to suppress my anger and said, "Then why didn't you tell me about this in advance?" David muttered softly, "If I had told you in advance, you definitely wouldn't have agreed." I interrupted him, "So you're acting first and informing me later?" The doctor also said during our last checkup that I might not give birth on the exact due date. It could be earlier or later. What? If you're all gone and I'm the only one at home, and I suddenly go into labor? David said impatiently, "It's not that easy to give birth. Besides, doctors say that to avoid responsibility, so if you give birth early or late, they can't be blamed. Worst case scenario, even if you give birth early, the hospital is next door. You can call 911 and the ambulance will be downstairs in 5 minutes. The doctors and nurses are so professional, you'll be fine. And my mom said that the first baby doesn't come out that quickly. It's going to hurt for days, and we'll have plenty of time to fly back." I looked at him in shock, unable to believe that these were the words of someone about to become a father. Seeing him quibble, I didn't want to argue with David anymore, and David didn't want to coax me. The atmosphere became tense. At this moment, a phone call broke the Cold War. David's face froze as he looked at the screen. He hesitated for a moment, answered the phone, and said softly, "Mom, yeah, we're ready." "No, we didn't argue. Don't worry about it." "Oh, why did you suddenly say you're not going?" "We didn't argue. The plane tickets and hotel are booked. Haven't you always been talking about going to Los Angeles? I'm going to take you." "No, no, no." David hung up the phone and sighed for a long time, saying, "See, my parents are so considerate of you. They said they wouldn't go as soon as they knew you were unhappy. My parents have done so much for you. Why can't you consider my parents? My parents are so happy about this trip. They've told many relatives about it, and everyone is envious of them. After you give birth, my parents will come over to help you take care of the baby. At least until the child is 3 years old, don't even think about traveling, you won't even be able to go to the neighboring town." I sneered inwardly. If he cared about me, he wouldn't have said he was going on vacation at this crucial time. I relented and said, "Then let's go. Promise. I don't want your parents to blame me for this either. They can still go on vacation tomorrow, and you stay home with me." To my surprise, David reacted strongly and jumped up, saying, "How can that be? My parents are old and haven't traveled far before. They don't know anyone there. They wouldn't even know where to go after getting off the plane. How can you ask me to leave two elders alone in Los Angeles? You're too heartless. I retorted, then are you willing to leave me alone at home? Aren't you worried that I might give birth at any time and there won't be anyone around? Giving birth is like stepping into the gates of hell. Don't you know that I could die? David scolded with a gloomy face. Don't scare me with that. Technology is so advanced now. How can anyone die from giving birth? If it were so easy to die, would so many people still have children? Why would that 1 in a million chance fall on you? It's easy to get into a car accident while driving, so why do so many people still drive? I was still hesitant about whether it was appropriate to go on a trip with my parents without you, but now I think this decision is right. We're going tomorrow. So, neither of us was willing to back down, and we argued until we stopped talking to each other. In the middle of the night, I touched my bulging belly and thought about what David said today. Tears welled up in my eyes. I didn't expect that in his eyes, taking his parents on vacation was more important than my giving birth. I couldn't sleep and opened my phone. I saw that my mother-in-law had posted several posts on her Instagram after hanging up the phone. Oh, I didn't expect that after working hard my whole life, my daughter-in-law wouldn't even let me go on vacation. Oh, I'm getting old and becoming annoying. No matter how sincerely I treat them, they may never be satisfied, because I'm not my flesh and blood. Nowhere is suitable to go, so I'll just stay at home, saving money for my son. Thank you for the concern of all my relatives and friends. We've decided not to go on vacation. We've been living in the countryside for so long, we're used to it. I'm old and won't cause trouble for my daughter-in-law. After a round of passive-aggressive remarks, I became an ungrateful daughter-in-law who didn't want her parents-in-law to have a good life. But my parents-in-law had never done anything for me. David and I are both only children, but my family is better off than his. They live in a rural house in the countryside, while my parents bought us a house in the city for us to live in. When we got married, my parents were critical of my parents-in-law's situation, worrying that my parents-in-law wouldn't have retirement pensions, which would affect my future life with David. But I was infatuated at the time and insisted on marrying him. He repeatedly swore to my parents that he wouldn't let me suffer, so my parents reluctantly nodded. When we discussed the marriage, my parents said that they had already bought me a house in the city, and we could live there in the future without any pressure. They only required the man to provide a car and a $10,000 wedding dowry as a formality. It didn't matter whose name the car was in. They agreed well in person, but then David said to me with a sad face, my parents have worked hard their whole lives. Buying a car and giving a wedding dowry for our marriage will cost $200,000 or $300,000 all at once. I really can't bear to empty their savings. I suggested, we can buy a cheaper car that can be used for transportation, and installment plans are very favorable now. David shook his head and said, paying the loan every month costs a lot of money, and it's very stressful. Can you discuss with your parents to reduce the wedding dowry? Besides, a $10,000 wedding dowry is very high in our area. My cousin only spent $5,000 to marry his wife. But his cousin's wife gave all the $5,000 to her family, widow. Any dowry. My wedding dowry is at my disposal, and I will naturally use it for our small family. My parents were already not very supportive of our marriage. If the wedding dowry was reduced, they would think that his family was not sincere and would not agree to the marriage. Seeing that I was a little unhappy, David pulled a long face and muttered something, then turned around and gave me the wedding dowry card, and quickly ordered the car. I felt very uncomfortable at the time, feeling like they were testing my bottom line, but we were still deeply in love at that time, so I didn't say much. A few months later, I saw David scrimping and saving every month to pay off the car loan. I couldn't bear it and thought about going to the bank to transfer the money to help him pay off the loan in advance as a birthday surprise. But when I checked at the bank, the balance was zero. I was so angry that I confronted David, but he said with a blank face, "I don't know what's going on." "Honey, don't worry, this card was given to me by my parents. I'll ask them now, and I promise I'll give you an explanation." After he finished the phone call, he said with a distressed expression, "My parents said that the wedding dowry was borrowed. You know they don't have much money, and people were urging them to repay the debt, so they had to pay the money back to them first. They were planning to do some odd jobs and slowly save enough to make up for it, but they didn't expect you to find out so quickly. They also feel very sorry for you. How about this? I will make up for this wedding dowry in the future, so please don't be angry with them, okay?" Since he said that, I couldn't make things difficult for my parents-in-law. The wedding dowry money was never mentioned again. In the 2 years after marriage, my parents-in-law still lived in the countryside. Occasionally, they would come to see a doctor and stay for a short period. David was busy with work and couldn't spare the time, so I too took care of them wholeheartedly, asking people to make appointments with experts for medical treatment and surgery. And I would prepare enough gifts and gift cards/cash gift envelopes during festivals. Usually, they would promise relatives to do things for the sake of face, but David scolded them for showing off, and my parents-in-law would come to me crying with tears in their eyes. Even if it was beyond my ability, I would try my best to do it well, so that they wouldn't lose face in front of their relatives. I was the one who gave more, but I didn't expect that in their eyes, I became the ungrateful person. I didn't fall asleep until almost dawn, and when I opened my eyes again, it was almost noon. I walked out of the living room and saw David checking his luggage, seeing if there was anything missing. When he saw me come out, he immediately gave a cold humph on purpose. "But didn't my mother-in-law say on her Instagram last night that she wasn't going?" I opened my Instagram in confusion, and sure enough, my mother-in-law posted a new update early in the morning, saying, "Thank you for the advice of all my relatives and friends. I thought about it all night. This trip is my son's filial piety, and we really can't not go because of considering an outsider's thoughts. That would hurt my son's heart. I've figured it out. Thinking too much will make me tired physically and mentally. From now on, I'll only consider my thoughts. The first trip for our family, getting ready to go, excited." At this moment, David's phone rang. He immediately answered, "Mom, are you downstairs? I'll be right down." After speaking, he picked up his luggage and left without looking at me, without turning his head back. Looking at his indifferent back, I felt very uncomfortable. After all, my baby and I were not as important as his family. Unexpectedly, as soon as David left, I felt a tightening in my stomach, and soon a warm current flowed down my body. I quickly went to the bathroom check and saw blood. I was at a loss. Could it be that I'm going into labor early? It may be that my mood fluctuated too much last night, coupled with not sleeping well, and the baby may come out early. While David hadn't gone far, I grabbed my phone and called him. After a long time, he finally answered, and his impatient voice came over. "What's the matter?" I tried my best to calm my panic and said, "I might be going to give birth. I'm bleeding now. Come back quickly." David's tone was full of doubt, saying, "Really? Weren't you fine just now? How come you're bleeding as soon as I leave? That's too coincidental, right?" I said anxiously and angrily, "Why would I joke about this? Come back and take me to the hospital. I'm alone at home now and don't know what to do." There was a rustling sound in the receiver, and soon my mother-in-law's loud voice came over. "Amy, you said you're bleeding? Aren't you seeing things? How come you're bleeding just as we're going on vacation? You're not deliberately trying to stop us from going on vacation, are you?" Generally, the first baby is born late. I've never heard of anyone giving birth early. When I gave birth to David, I was delayed for several days. Even if you're bleeding, it's still far from giving birth. If you go to the hospital now, the doctor won't admit you. They'll tell you to go home and rest. You haven't given birth before, so you don't know. Just rest at home. We'll be back in a few days." Saying that, she hung up the phone without hesitation, and when I called back, it was busy. I felt like I had fallen into an ice cave, and tears couldn't stop falling down. If I was just disappointed in this man last night, now I completely see through the faces of his family. Since they won't come back even if I'm giving birth, they can forget about coming back in the future. I quickly called my parents. After they heard the news that I was bleeding, they rushed to my house. When my mother saw me alone at home with a big belly, her eyes filled with tears instantly. Unexpectedly, as soon as I got to the hospital, my water suddenly broke, and the doctor immediately arranged for me to be admitted. I don't know how long passed, but I felt regular contractions coming from below, and the frequency became more and more rapid. I was in so much pain that I could barely breathe. Time seemed to stretch out in the pain that came so often. Fortunately, just when I was about to not be able to hold on, the doctor came over and gave me an epidural. After a lot of tossing and turning, I finally heard the baby's loud cry. I felt like I had been drained of all my strength and quickly fell into a deep sleep. When I opened my eyes, I saw my mother holding the baby and coaxing her to sleep. She was very happy to see me wake up, but then she looked hesitant, saying, "David saw the posts I made on Instagram and knew that the baby was born. He called you several times. Do you want to call back?" Just as I was about to speak, David called, and I answered without hesitation. He said happily on the phone, "Amy, I saw the post on Mom's Instagram. You gave our family a daughter. You've worked hard. You're our family's greatest contributor now." Before I could say anything, my mother-in-law's voice rang out next to David, sharper and more than before, loudly saying, "What greatest contributor? She's just a big sinner. All that effort, and she gave birth to a little girl. Luckily, we came out to travel, otherwise, I'd feel like I lost out. I'm telling you, don't expect us to take care of you during your postpartum recovery period. We'll go straight back to the countryside when we get back. I don't even dare to let relatives know that you gave birth to a daughter. It's so embarrassing to think about it." Then there was a flurry of footsteps, and my mother-in-law's cursing became smaller and smaller. David said cautiously, "My parents have old-fashioned ideas. They're just saying it, don't take it to hear." Really? Why didn't you tell me when you went to the hospital? I only found out by browsing Instagram. I was originally planning to go back to see you and the baby when I saw the news, and I was going to change my ticket. But my mom said that since you've already given birth and your parents are taking care of you in the hospital, it would cost a lot of money to change the ticket, so we might as well enjoy ourselves. I thought so too, and since your parents are taking care of you, I'm relieved. We'll be home in a few days, and I'll take good care of you and the baby then. If I had heard him say this before giving birth, I would still be angry, but now my heart wouldn't be stirred up at all. I said calmly, "Don't bother worrying about it. You don't have to come home when you get back. Go straight to the courthouse. We're getting a divorce." After speaking, I hung up the phone neatly. I thought my parents would try to persuade me, but my mother surprisingly agreed, saying, "If that's what you want, then that's fine. I was worried that you would just forgive him like this. How can there be a man who goes on vacation with his parents a few days before his wife's due date, leaving his wife alone at home? This kind of man doesn't deserve to have a wife. Divorce is too good for him." My father also nodded, saying, "Our family has a house, and I'll buy you a car in the future. You don't need any man. Your mother and I will take care of you and the child. Don't think about these upsetting things. If they dare to come and find you in the future, I'll immediately use a broom to chase them all out." My nose soured, and the grievances I had suffered these past 2 days instantly turned into tears. After being discharged from the hospital, I directly hired a locksmith to change the locks and turned around to go back to my parents' house for my postpartum recovery period. I looked at the updates on Instagram every day. My mother-in-law kept posting 8 travel updates a day. Finally, after one day, they started their return journey. I was very much looking forward to David's expression when he got home and found that the door lock had been changed. Sure enough, when David got home and found that he couldn't open the door, he called me angrily and scolded me. "I'm just going on vacation. It's not like I'm doing anything harmful. Moreover, I'm going with my parents, not with someone else. Did you have to change the door lock? You're going too far. I'm telling you, come back now and open the door and apologize to me properly. I cannot hold you accountable for what you said about divorce and changing the lock. Look at what it's like now. Just because I went on vacation with my parents, you're making such a fuss. People will laugh at us if they find out." I retorted without politeness. "Apologize to you? Did you leave your brain there when you went on vacation? You go out now and tell everyone clearly that you left a pregnant woman who was about to give birth at home to go on vacation, and see who laughs at whom. There's no discussion about the divorce. I'll go to the courthouse when I'm done with my postpartum recovery period." I thought I had made my position very clear, but I didn't expect that after a few days, David probably realized that I was going to get a divorce, so he quickly brought his parents to apologize. My mother-in-law changed her an arrogant attitude on the phone. She pulled my father-in-law and said humbly, "We were wrong on the phone before. We shouldn't have treated you like that. David has been talking about us these days, and we've also reflected seriously. Please forgive us this time for the sake of the newborn child. Don't take the words we said before to heart. We've brought our luggage with us. You can go to work with peace of mind in the future. We'll take care of the child at home." Saying that, my mother-in-law started wiping her tears, and my father-in-law lowered his head and didn't speak. Both of them looking like they were at my mercy. David also said gently, "Look, my parents have swallowed their pride to apologize. Don't hold them accountable for the words they said. Moreover, we're going to live together in the future. We're all family, so it's not good to make things too awkward." He realized that without me, he wouldn't even have a house to live in, so the whole family started acting in front of me. My dad was about to scold them with a gloomy face, but I quickly stopped him and said, "Okay, I can forgive you. Since you said you're coming over to take care of the child, my house is so small that it's not big enough to live in. How about David pays the rent for you to rent a house next door? Is that okay?" To my surprise, David immediately said excitedly, "How can that be? It's not harmonious if a family doesn't live together. Moreover, my parents are here to help you take care of the child. It's not convenient to live in another house. Our family can squeeze together." I sneered, "You're not even willing to pay for the rent. How can I believe that you're sincerely asking me to forgive you? Since you said that, I'll call my parents over too and let them help you take care of the child, okay?" David looked incredulous and said, "What do you mean by helping me take care of the child? And there's no reason for grandparents to take care of the child when the maternal grandparents are still around? We're here to apologize to you for the sake of the child, and also to give you a way out, but in reality, we didn't do anything wrong at all. Don't take advantage of our kindness. Okay, stop being stubborn and quickly pack your things and take the child back. My parents' luggage is still in the car, waiting for us to go back to clean up the house and make room for them to live in." I immediately shook off his hand that was pulling me and sneered, "Who exactly are your parents taking care of the child for? They're taking care of it for you. Aren't you thinking of having them take care of the child so that you don't have to do anything at home in the future? You keep saying that you're taking care of the child for me, but is the child I gave birth to someone else's? Would they take care of it for me?" David said with a dark face, "Why are you going too far? We've already begged you so humbly. What else do you want? Do you want to get a divorce? Have you ever thought that you've been married and had a child, and it's a daughter? Who would want you if you went out? See your current situation clearly, and honestly come back with us. I cannot hold you accountable for what happened before. I slapped him in the face without hesitation. David stared at me in disbelief, and my mother-in-law screamed and rushed over to scratch me, but my mother pushed her to the ground with a quick hand. My father pointed at me, tremblingly, and said, "It's outrageous. There's a daughter-in-law who doesn't admit her mistake and dares to hit her husband. Do you believe that I'll let David divorce you later?" My dad retorted directly, "Do you believe that I'll chase you all out later?" David cursed while panting, "I didn't expect you to turn into this." "Fine. Divorce, then divorce. We'll go to the courthouse next week. I'll see if you dare to go." My mother-in-law shouted, "She definitely wouldn't dare to divorce with a baggage. She's just saying it. How can she not be afraid of shortening her life to ask me, an elder, to apologize to her? You're such a vicious woman. You'll be punished." Under my parents' eviction, they left cursing. What I didn't expect was that the retribution would come so quickly. Early the next morning, I had just coaxed the baby to sleep when I received a call from my mother-in-law. As soon as I answered, her ghostly howling almost pierced my eardrums, saying, "It's a sin. It's a sin that our family married a daughter-in-law like you. We had a car accident. Your father-in-law and David are covered in blood. It's so scary, so scary. I don't know what to do. Come over quickly." I vaguely heard David crying ouch, ouch, and it hurt so much next to her. I curled my lips and said in the same tone that my mother-in-law had ridiculed me, "You said they had a car accident and there's a lot of blood? Aren't you seeing things? How come you had a car accident just as I was having my postpartum recovery period? You're not deliberately trying to stop me from having a good postpartum recovery period, are you?" I hung up the phone neatly, but I couldn't bear to see them have a car accident and no one care, so I still called 911. Soon, they were sent to the hospital. Not long after, my mother-in-law called me again, and she wailed, "Come to the hospital quickly. Your father-in-law has a broken leg and can't be left unattended. David just came out of the operating room and hasn't woken up yet. How can I take care of them? Your husband is lying in the hospital bed. How can you be at ease having your postpartum recovery period at home? Anyway, you gave birth to a daughter, so just let your parents take care of her." I said with a sneer, "The doctors and nurses are professionals, and since there's no danger to their lives, there's no need for me to go. What relationship do I have with my father-in-law? What relationship do I have with David? I'm going to divorce him. The one lying next to me now is my daughter, who is related to me by blood. Can't I tell which is more important? That's your dear husband and your son. Do you need me, an outsider, to take care of them?" My mother-in-law stopped crying immediately and cursed with a vicious face. "How can you be so vicious? Other couples share weal and woe, but you fly away when disaster strikes. You want to divorce David as soon as he has a car accident. You'll be punished. Your whole family will die a horrible death." I retorted without politeness, "Yes, the retribution has come to you, otherwise, why would your family have a car accident? You better keep your mouth clean, or you can try and see what I'll do." Later, David woke up and called me several times to ask me to take care of him, saying that his mother was too tired to take care of 2 patients and asked me to take over when I was free, so that his mother could have a good rest. I was so angry that he stopped after I scolded him a few times. I thought that we would be able to get a divorce when he was discharged from the hospital, but I didn't expect them to use dirty tricks behind my back again. When my mother-in-law was taking care of my father-in-law and David in the hospital, she had to run back and forth because they were not in the same ward. She was reluctant to spend money on eating out, so she cooked 3 meals a day at home and sent them over. She also had to wipe the body and pour the urine pot for my father-in-law, who had a broken leg, and change the clothes for David, who was recovering and had a cleanliness obsession every day. In just half a month, my mother-in-law lost a lot of weight visibly. Once, when my mother-in-law was struggling to lift my father-in-law's body to wipe him, the people in the same ward couldn't stand it anymore and asked, "Why are you the only one taking care of him? Doesn't your family have anyone else?" My mother-in-law's acting addiction kicked in, and she didn't speak with red eyes. The person asked persistently, "You should have sons and daughters at this age. Why don't they come to help you share the burden?" My mother-in-law sighed and said, "I only have one son, and he's also in the hospital because of a car accident. I have to take care of my husband and my son every day. There's nothing I can do. My son is my flesh and blood, and I can't ignore him, unlike some relationships that can be broken off." The person immediately seized on the key point and said, "You mean your daughter-in-law doesn't care about him?" The mother-in-law burst into tears, wiping them away as she said, "Oh, my husband and son were in a car accident at the same time. I told my daughter-in-law that I would take care of my husband and she could take care of my son, but she refused and even scolded me, saying she wanted to divorce my son. What kind of karma is this? I just asked her to take care of her husband, who was in an accident, and she wants a divorce. She even said she was going to kick my son out of the marital home." The person listening was furious and indignantly said, "This is too much. How can there be such a daughter-in-law in this world? I work in TikTok, and I'll expose her right now and make her apologize to you properly." And just like that, the video was given a catchy title, "Daughter-in-law wants a divorce while her son is in a car accident and also wants to seize the marital home." The cover showed the mother-in-law crying with red eyes in the hospital room, with her father-in-law with broken legs in the background. In the video, the mother-in-law pretended to be humble and pitiful, saying, "Daughter-in-law, I apologize to you as before. As long as you are willing to be with my son in the future and support each other until old age, we will never interfere in your affairs." Soon, the video spread everywhere, and everyone condemned me, this wicked daughter-in-law, threatening to dig up my background and my parents' information, ruin my job, make me take care of my husband until he was discharged from the hospital, and return the marital home to their family. Moreover, the mother-in-law's relatives also came out to speak up at the right time, saying that David had only taken them out to travel, but I cried and made a fuss at home, forcing my in-laws to stay at home because I didn't want to spend money on them. The in-laws almost compromised, but in the end, the relatives persuaded them, and they went on the trip because they didn't want to waste the booked plane tickets and hotels. David also posted proof of the hotel, proven that he couldn't even enter the house after the trip, which confirmed my guilt as a wicked daughter-in-law and aroused the sympathy of many netizens. I stayed at home, taking care of my child, and didn't have much time to pay attention to the online trends. It was my mother who was told by a neighbor while she was taking a walk. The neighbor knew we weren't that kind of person and didn't want us to suffer injustice, so she told us to clarify the situation quickly. I was shocked by the shamelessness of this family. I didn't expect them to distort the facts so much to win the sympathy of netizens. After lulling my daughter to sleep, I made a new video overnight to clarify what had happened before. The reason why I didn't let David and my in-laws go out to travel before was that I was about to give birth, and I couldn't be without someone by my side at this critical moment. The reason why I said I wanted a divorce was not only because of this, but also because they found out I had given birth while they were traveling, and it wasn't the grandson they had been longing for, so they said I was a great sinner. The so-called seizing of the marital home while my husband was in a car accident was even more nonsense. That house was originally mine. The in-laws' relatives didn't know that I was pregnant and had given birth, only because the in-laws didn't want to help me with the postpartum recovery period or take care of the child, fearing that relatives would talk about them behind their backs, so they had never told anyone about my pregnancy. The relatives didn't even know that they were traveling when I was close to my due date. I took photos of the time David and I got married, the time we bought the house we lived in, and the time I gave birth. I even found out that the car David bought before was not bought in installments, but he bought it in full. Over the years, he had been using the excuse of paying off the car loan to deceive me and secretly transferred the loan. Why to his in-laws? Not to mention that the day after giving the $10,000 wedding dowry, they secretly transferred it away again, which was enough to arouse everyone's anger. Maybe David's family didn't expect my counterattack to come so quickly. They thought that if they threatened me in the video, I would surrender immediately. They believed in their bones that I wouldn't get a divorce, and as long as I had a child, I would be completely tied to their family. They miscalculated this time. Now, public opinion has turned against them, and everyone is condemning this hypocritical and greedy family. Soon, the video was deleted, and the blogger who posted the video indignantly said that he had been deceived and would settle accounts with that family. David realized that divorce was a foregone conclusion. He knew that once we divorced, he wouldn't even have a house to live in. This time, he used his old routine again, sincerely crying and begging me to admit his mistake. He knelt directly in front of me, begging for forgiveness with tears and snot, saying, "I know I was wrong, can we not get a divorce? Please, for the sake of our daughter, for the sake of giving her a complete family, can you forgive me this time? I was just not thinking straight before, that's why I treated you like that. I swear, from now on, all the money in the house will be in your custody, and whatever you say goes, I will never object. After all, they are my parents. I'm caught in the middle, and it's difficult for me, that's why I made such a mistake and said those things to you. I will prioritize you in the future, so please forgive me this time." I crossed my arms and looked at him coldly, saying, "You finally remembered that you have a daughter? What is a daughter in your eyes? Is she a tool for reconciliation? You keep saying it's for your daughter, but when I was about to give birth, you insisted on going on a trip. Did you consider her? If I had fainted at home alone, she might not have been able to come into this world. Did you think about that? When you married me, you also swore to my parents that you wouldn't wrong me and that you would always be good to me. But what about now? We've only been married for 2 years, and the words you said and the oaths you made have long been forgotten. You didn't cheat on me, and you didn't do anything outrageous, but when you took your parents on a trip, hid it from me, transferred the $10,000 wedding dowry back to your parents, and even deliberately lied to me about the full payment car being paid in installments and then gave the money to your parents, you should have thought that this day would come. Husbands and wives should trust and support each other. I ask myself, have I done anything wrong to you in the past 2 years? But have you done any of that? If you still have a little conscience, you better go to the courthouse with me right away to get a divorce, so that I won't say a bad word about you in front of our daughter in the future." I blurted out all the words I had wanted to say to him these days, and I felt much better. He looked up at me with tears in his eyes, stunned, and finally nodded after a long while, saying in a hoarse voice, "Okay, I agree to the divorce." It seemed that his conscience had finally caught up with him. The divorce went smoothly, and there was nothing to divide in terms of property. David even wanted to transfer the car to me, saying it was compensation for me. I directly refused, saying, "I don't dare to take it. What if I drive it away, and your parents cry in the video again, saying that I seized your family's car? I won't be able to explain myself then." David opened his mouth, but finally said helplessly, "Okay then." Finally, we agreed that he would pay child support on time every month, and we got the divorce certificate. When David returned to our house to pack his clothes, his in-laws heard the news and came to stop him. The mother-in-law pointed at my nose and scolded, "I've never seen such a shameless woman like you, who dares to slap her elders in the face in front of so many people. You caused our whole family to have a car accident, and you also made us lose face in front of so many people. Now we are pointed at by relatives as soon as we go out. I'm telling you, you must compensate us for this house, or you can forget about leaving. David couldn't stop them. I was too lazy to argue with them, so I pretended to call the police and said seriously, he and I are already divorced. Now you can't be considered my elders. If you don't leave now, I'll call the police immediately and say that someone is trespassing on private property. Then you can see who will be kicked out. In the end, David dragged them away. Later, I heard that to prove that David's divorce from me was wrong, they eagerly arranged many blind dates for him, but either the conditions were not as good as mine, or the conditions were better than mine, and they looked down on David. They realized that they could no longer find a girl who had better family conditions than ours and didn't dislike their family, so they shamelessly brought gifts to my door, pretending to want to see their granddaughter, saying that they were missing her because they hadn't held her at this age. I was at work at the time. When I came home after work and heard my parents talk about it, my father was very proud to say that he had scolded them into silence, and everyone gathered around to watch the fun. I guess they would never dare to come again. I looked at my daughter sleeping peacefully in her swaddling clothes, and I felt infinite love in my heart. From now on, our family will live our own lives well.